afternoon and welcome to the press conference this afternoon. As I was saying, welcome to this press conference. We have the great honor of having with us Mr. Costa Gavras, one of the Donostia Award winners of the 67th edition of the San Sebastian Film Festival. We'll start with him for a few minutes, and then subsequently we will allow part of the cast of Adults in the Room to come in as a special projection due to the Donostia Award that is going to be given to Mr. Gavras. So please, if there are any questions, please raise your hand.
¿Empiezo yo?
I'm going to... Me? Okay, I'll start. Mr. Costa Gavras, there's something that when you shoot a film, it seems that it's important for you how you manage, for example, the way people eat, caterings, and the demands of actors. Are there any special anecdotes of the way you do your eating habits and catering, or any demands by actors in the shooting of your films? I'm not too sure whether I should speak in Spanish.
Hablo en Spanish.
Yes, I think everyone agrees with you. Okay. Anecdotes?
Because you have to create something different from what doesn't exist. What is a shooting of a movie? We create a world from nothing. We have a script, we have actors, we have a set, and then we say, okay, let's create that small world, which is part of a big world, which is all the story. And every moment is something very, very tense, because the actors have to get into the psychological situation of the actors. The lights must be the right, the camera must be the right position, all this together. So it's, of course, there's sometimes anecdotes, someone who does different things, to say the wrong words, but I think it's very interesting to me. The miracle, I switch it to the, from English, from Spanish
No,
to
there is no need, you can.
No, the miracle is the fact that we create something which exists. And when you see the movie, if you succeed, of course, it's a really pleasure for the, because I'm a viewer of movies, so it's a real pleasure for me to see a movie which succeeded, and we believe to what happens there in the screen. And that's a miracle. This is probably the most extraordinary thing, that put together all contradictory things, and they all together create a miracle, okay, a reality.
Buenas tardes.
Hi, good afternoon. You or your family had problems in Greece with your film Zeta. Did you have any problems in France with the Battle of Algeria? Did you had problems with the CIA or with the North Americans with missing? And you might have now problems with the oligarchs.
Be the not to find money for next movie. For people, for oligarchs, as you said. No, I think I was able to live in France, in a country where we are free to do the movies we want to do. There is some help from the state also, which I think is very important. And when I did movies in the United States, I said to the companies, the different companies I worked with them, that I do the movie I want to do, and if you accept, I do it. If not, I go back to France. And have that kind of relationships always with the Americans. And I also ask them to do the post-production, which is a big period of a movie, to do it in France. And I do it in France. All the productions all from American movies. It was a lot of freedom. They gave me to that freedom. If not, I won't work with them. So, I don't know what they think about me, but at the end of the day, I don't want to know either one. No, there were some problems with the millionaire colonies Greece when I did Z. They took off my nationality, Greek nationality, but I didn't have it anymore. I was French citizen. But also, they could not take away my nationality because a Greek is born there, which is born Greek, stays Greek all his life. It's a kind of Greek thing.
Hola, buenas tardes.
Hi, good afternoon. Hi, good afternoon. You are receiving in this festival a career award in this festival, and in the United States you did a film for me which is mythical, which is Missing, in which you denunciated something that very few people knew in that country, in the US at that time, which is the collaboration of the government with Pinochet's regime to bring down Salvador Allende. Do you think it'd be possible in Hollywood to make a film like Missing nowadays with the current Hollywood financed by a big studio?
No, I was talking with the Vice President Sean Daniel, who followed the movie Missing at that period. He was working for Universal, and he said to me, no, today it's over. Today it's an all different Hollywood with different philosophy, but different way of thinking, of seeing and approaching things. So Missing won't be possible today.
In your movies, you have always explored the thin line between fiction and reality. In which ways would you say that fiction, and in your case, social and political fiction, can have an impact on reality?
No, sorry, I did get the last part of your question.
You have always explored you have explored the thin line between fiction and reality in your movies, and in which ways do you think that fiction can have an effect or an impact in reality, in social and political reality?
The fiction was always at the spectacle, starting from the Greek theater at the ancient times. It was always the fiction, and the fiction speaks very well about the reality, much better than reality itself, I think. So sometimes I'm obliged to use the reality because there's no way to do it differently. But I think fiction is the best way, in my feeling, to find ideas, to find metaphors, to speak about the reality, because that gives enough distance. And I had to do it sometimes with the fiction. The last part of my movie, it's a fiction completely. And I think it's better than if I have done this big discussion they have that night, all the leaders of the European leaders with the Greek leader. It would be impossible to do that. The fiction was a solution. Some other moments in my movie, it's a fiction, because it was better than the reality. But the problem with the reality has to have ideas, and to have good ideas. I spoke about the ancient Greek theater. We can talk also about the French theater or your theater, the Spanish theater, the classic theater. They have extraordinary ideas to explore the society and what's going on in the society.
Hi, I'll speak in English. Yeah? I'm writing a book on Argentinian cinema at the moment. Can you tell me a bit about what it was like, your experiences of working with Ricardo Aronovich, the Argentinian cinematographer? How did it happen that you decided to work with him? You worked on 2 films, I think, Missing and Hannah K. Yeah? Is that right? What were the experiences like with working with Aronovich, please?
Ricardo Aronovich, I did 2, 3 movies with him, and then I would like to do another movie. But finally, he decided to be director. He went to Argentina, and I had to take another DP for my movies. So then I continue with the other one. But Ricardo still stays a good friend, and he still lives in France. And he, at that time, was one of the best DPs in the world. Yes. He completely renewed the way of making movies and making also the photos, movies photos. Yeah.
¿Alguna pregunta?
Any further questions? Yes, please. Hi, good afternoon. You've always made a great commitment to your films in your career. I'm not too sure, but bearing in mind the current European political scenario, we premiered a Spanish film which has a certain relationship with the new increase of the growth of fascism in Europe, I'm not too sure whether it's an issue that you perhaps would like to deal with in a future film of yours.
No, the fascism in Europe is something which is coming back in a very peculiar way, and nobody understands why. Because we know, I mean, my generation and the generation before me know very well what were the results of that fascism. Probably the Europe and the different countries didn't have done enough and good pedagogy and learning to the young people about the fascism. So they think, some people think the fascism is the solution. And we know, all of us, it's not the solution. Because the time you have been at the power, the results was very, very, very negative, to say something more aggressive. No, make a movie about that. Why not? Well, I have to do a good story. But the movie, it's a good story. Probably I should think about that.
Thank you. Hello, good afternoon. My name is Masi. I'm an Iranian producer. Taking into consideration the theme of your movies, have you ever thought you could make a movie in Iran?
But in Iran, you have an extraordinary cinema in Iran, a unique cinema in Europe, so personal, so direct, so great. Of course, probably it's not possible for the directors to do exactly what they do. Some ones are even in prison or have difficulties, I know them. But why will someone from Europe come to give you lessons about the Iranian system? They know it very well, they do it very well. Of course, if there is a story with Europeans come to Iran, and having experience like this, yes, would be a story to do. But just to speak about Iran should be for me completely impossible. And of course, don't speak Iranian.
I see, thank you. Well, not impossible, but I just don't want to make it a discussion because it was just a question, but maybe we can discuss it later. It maybe not impossible, but maybe difficult, but well, things change all the time. And well, as you, as a creator of miracles, may definitely know your way to make a miracle out of some apparently impossible situation.
No. Thank you. Thanks for the idea of miracles. No. Iranian situation interests me a lot. I have been there years ago, and I have discussions with a lot of people, and I saw something extraordinary. People outside, especially women, they were very strict, very nice. You cannot touch them. And when I went home with the same people, there were two different people. They were nice. They drink wine. They have all the things of life. So outside is a certain kind of life. Inside homes are completely different. So this is a nice story for someone from outside. But it's a short story for a moment. It has to be bigger, larger.
Otra pregunta aquí.
Mr. Costa Gavras, do you have or have, because you've dealt with in your films, difficult issues and complex issues about Latin American countries, Mexico, Colombia, Argentina, given the difficult situations that people live in those countries are undergoing?
Already. State of Siege was about, and the missing was also about South, because I think, I feel, first time I went to the Latin American speaking a little bit of Spanish, I was able to speak with people, to have a kind of relationship with them, and it was an extraordinary discovery. They look like Greeks, and especially in Chile. The way they think, the way they eat, I mean, all different things. So, and I felt completely taken by that. But I still know that Latin America, it's changed from one situation, dictatorial situation, a kind of, today, for some countries, a kind of dictatorial democracy, like in Brazil, for example, to have this example. And people, crazy people, are elected to save the country, they say. So that's something. But the problem also with the Latin America is they have extraordinary directors, and they don't work anymore so much, very little. The Argentinians do, the Brazilians don't do it anymore, don't work anymore. There's a very few movies, or local movies, we don't know them. Yeah, but this, I'm getting a little bit old also, vous savez. It's very difficult, the trips, and spends months and months trying to make a movie in another place.
Tenemos otra pregunta aquí, por favor. Sí.
Another question here, please. Mr. Kogar-Stagavras, I would like to ask you, what was the reaction that the Vatican had to your film, Amen?
Oh, you haven't seen the movie yet. Nobody saw the movie yet in Greece. It's going to be shown next week. And I'll go there to present the movie. And I'm waiting to face a big fight. Because Greeks are really for or against, all the way down. So we'll see what happens and what Tsipras will say, and the others also. But when I call on them to see the movie. But as far as I know, the movie is really expected with a lot of curiosity. And sometimes also probably with hate. I will see.
Tenemos otra pregunta allí.
Yes, one question right at the back there. I didn't want to miss this opportunity of asking you about the Donostia Award, the maximum distinction of the film festival. What did you feel when it was offered to you, and what do you think about it? How do you feel receiving the recognition and receiving the Donostia Award?
For me, it's a big honor. For different reasons, particularly one reason is that we directors, we know about awards. And we know also, among us, that this is a very special award, the one given in San Sebastian. So I was very moved and very honored when they told me, you're going to have it, like a few other colleagues, which I have a big admiration for them. So I said, oh, okay, I will tell them I have them like they did. And that was for me made me very proud. That's all I can say.
¿Hay alguna otra pregunta allí?
Any further questions? Yes. Hi, I'm Michelle. I'm Costa's wife and producer. I want to say something about Costa's answer about Missing. Obviously, Missing couldn't have been made now in America. This film about Europe was very difficult to produce, and up until now, only 50% of the film has been financed. I thought, ironically, that we could make a co-production with Germany, but it was impossible to achieve. The small producers were saying, but Michel, we need the help from the state, but it's impossible. The big productions that had TV channels said, if anything that Costa wants to film, anything is great, but not this film. But we understand very well that Costa wants to film something about his country of origin, but the Greeks should pay for it.
The only country who bought the film are the country of the pigs. Germany, for the moment, we don't want to touch. But there is something very interesting, is I was approached by the syndicate of the BCA, the European Bank, and they want to show the film for all the employees. And they came yesterday to see the film in Paris. They love it, and they said in the BCA exactly the same. Passam exactly the same in the film, in the Eurogroup. Thank you.
Muchas gracias. Vamos a recibir con una...
Let's proceed with an applause now to the cast of adults in the room who are now going to join the press conference with Mr. Costa Gavras.
Desde su izquierda.
From right to left, Alexandros Bordounis, actor, Costa Gavras, director of the film, Christos Loulis, actor, and Valeria Gordino, actress. Let's continue, therefore, with the questions in the press conference. Please, photographers, could you finish your work so that we can continue with the press conference? Well, I will launch a question, if you'll allow me. In the trajectory of Mr. Costa Gavras, it's quite usual there's a strong link to literature, not only at a structural level, the way you construct your stories, but also because you've collaborated with writers such as Jorge Semprún in your scripts. In this case, it's a film which is inspired upon a book, the book by Yanis Varoufakis, which is the memoirs or the memorandums of battle. I would like to ask the cast what the specific challenges would be to base yourselves upon a book of this nature and so close to our historical present. The problem
with that movie was that at the beginning, it was the budget of that movie. So I asked two famous actors whom I know if they would like to play the movie. They say yes. They wrote the script. They say we do it. But then after a while, I was thinking with Michel, my producer, because I'm sleeping with my producer. It's an advantage. We cannot do that. We cannot have foreign actors speaking in Greek, among them Greeks, to speak in English. It would be completely ridiculous. Then we decided to make the movie in Greek and in English. The problem is that I didn't know the Greek actors. Then I went there, I started meeting them, I went to theater to see them playing at the theater, and I discovered they have extraordinary actors, speaking also both languages, as you saw. And I say, okay, we do that. Even that creates economical problems, finally, we did there. The other thing that has been created is that as they were playing at the theater, we had to do the whole movie in English, which was not considered at the very beginning. So we changed also the program, and we did a big part of the movie in Greece. Then we some of it in France, because they could not leave the theater. So when we did the parts in France with Christos, he came for 2 days, we shoot it, and then he turned back to Greece to play in the theater. That was the difficulty, but I'm very happy to, and probably you noticed that the cast, I consider, after doing so many movies, some movies, it's perfect, both sides. Not only for the side of the Greek part, but also for the other side, because we decided also that every actor who acts for a country has to come from his country. So the Spanish is a Spanish actor, the Italian is an Italian actor, the Dutch is a Dutch actor, and I think it's perfect because they have the national accent speaking in English. And I think, I repeat, for me, it's a perfect cast because also they're not very known, which makes the whole thing much more believable.
So si queréis,
If you want, Alexandros, Christos, or Valeria, para...
For us, it is something spectacular to play to a film of Kostas Gavras. He's a legend to our country. And as I was saying back to Valeria, how I met Kostas, I went to a cast, and the casting director, after 2 times, told me, you know, it's about a film, a great film, we're gonna do it here in Greece with a great, great director. And I said, okay, once more, they lied to us, you know, a big lie to the Greek actors. And whatever, and some they tell me, you're gonna meet Kostas Gavras. And it was just a big surprise. So a dream come true for me. And I think what was important about the book and how we managed to give our acting skills into persons who are very near to what we were living in our country is that in this scenario of Costas, they let us very free to act. Although it was very difficult because we play Tsipras or we play Varoufakis, we play very well-known persons who are very well-known not only in our country but all over the world. So even Tsipras was very familiar to me. I got the opportunity from Costas and the freedom to play how I would imagine, how this person could react in this kind of conditions. And I would like to thank you for that. And all this trip until now, it's amazing for me.
No sé si Christos quieres.
Christos, do you want to add anything?
It's been quite a personal and intimate journey, this film, for both reasons. Just, for meeting Costas and Michel, Valeria, and for doing this film about what happened in Europe, in my country, 4 years ago. You know, when you do attempt to speak about certain things that define the way you live now, you can only do the best you can, but you always leave something behind. You don't, the words are not enough, and words are not strong enough to portray and to give everything that you have in you. That goes for Yannis Varoufakis, for his book. That goes for Kostas, for his film. That goes for me, for my performance. That goes for everybody that wants to say something, to do something. You always leave something behind, and the thing that you leave behind is what sometimes hurts the most, because you feel that it's the most important. But I think that Kostas has done a colossal work on bringing this book and what this book stands for, to do it, to turn it into a film of repetitive anguish and Sisyphean, what I would say, work, I don't know, job. It's like you know who Sisyphus was? He was from Greek mythology, so he was the guy who was trying to get a big rock on top of the mountain, and when he reached the top, the rock would crumble down again, and then he would start all over again. So this is what Yannis did, this is what Yannis wrote, this is what Kostas wrote, this is what is the film about. And sometimes, you know, words are not enough. Sometimes you just have to see the film, and you just have to be curious about what happens around. And I'm very, very glad that it's very recent in our history, because why wait 60 years to talk about something? Why not talk about it now, when it's still fresh and alive? We have to distance ourselves from ourselves in the present that we live our lives. So at the same time living our lives, and at the same time taking distance from our lives, so we can see ourselves from above and maybe have the curiosity to see why we did this, why we did that. Could we do something differently? So as a citizen, as a person, as a human being, not as an actor, not as an artist, I'm very, very glad that I met Kostas and Michel and Valeria, and we worked with Alexandros and all the cast and the crew. I'm very glad as a person that I did this this journey. That's what I want to say.
Si alguien tiene alguna...
Anyone has any questions from the audience? Yes, there's a question. Yes, good afternoon. Well, I wanted to make a reflection. Costa Gavras, you said that you never went back to Latin America, but with this film, I believe you're very strongly going back to Latin America, because the situation with regards to the International Monetary Fund, the pressure vis-a-vis finances and banks, that is unfortunately quite in the vogue and in many Latin American countries. That on the one hand, the film was impressive from that point of view. But I would like to ask you is, that scene, which is almost at the end, when you decide to, almost as if it's choreography in that situation, it's almost choreographic. It's a change in the language of the film at the same time. How did you decide to do that? Thank you.
No, io posso dire delle cose, I can, but I think I have my opinion on that. But I think yours is more important in this case.
No, coming back to Latin America, I think we need a Charlie Chaplin to make a movie about Brazil that night.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. I mean, yeah, that kind of talent. I don't have it, of course. We don't have it for the moment.
I have the guy.
You
I know the guy.
Yeah.
Who can play him?
Because for Latin America, it was really the moment after a few years, deeply changes, several years deep change after the tragedies of Allende and some others. There was a moment, something was going on, something was happening. And then have people like him comes back, and some others. I don't know what to name them. There's a lot of movies to be made.
But to answer more specifically, just because I was thinking about it, is that I don't think there is a change of tone in the last ballet. I think that's what you're referring to, that he became something else. But I think the whole movie brings to that moment, so that he doesn't have to change a tone. He brings him slowly. They're already dancing. This is not an only naturalistic movie for me. It's not a naturalistic. The whole tone, the music, the scenes between them in the political moments, but also in the taverna when we're eating and everybody's coming. It's not a naturalistic scene. That's what cinema does. That's what his cinema does. To be able to talk about something and transcend the facts. That's when cinema is beautiful. This is an impossible subject to make a movie. You know, finance, politics, 2 hours of that. And I think what Gavras Costas did was to be able to transcend that moment and to have a different point of view. It's Varoufakis' point of view, but it's finally his point of view. Those are not the facts. Facts is for journalists. This is cinema, no? And so he was able to bring this little ballet to the end where there is happens. It's not a change of tone.
It's like when you see a flower, it's all green, and then it comes red. So it has to be green. It has to be green. So in order to.
And it was very emotional. These 3 days we were shooting for everybody into the set, and for me also to be in this position, weird position, to be the guy who had to make a decision. And I was trying to think, how was I that particular day as a person, like Christos said. It's not only as actors for my position, for our position into the movie, because the facts are very near to us. So it was very emotional, and Kostas let us very free into, because it wasn't a scene written exactly what to do. We were trying to find it, Kostas and the choreographer, everybody, what to do, and it was an excellent experience. And I think it's a magic moment in the movie.
No, I would like to say just one word about Valeria, because in a moment Michel told me probably Valeria could do that part. I say no, I cannot call Valeria. It's a small part. It's a really 2-day shooting or 3-day shooting. We cannot propose in that. I say no, I will call her. She called her, and Valeria answered immediately. I'm doing it. What do you want? And she came. And she did it. And we were very happy.
But you know why? Because what can we do? Who can we take? Valeria, why? Because she speaks Greek. So, of all his friends, I'm the one who speaks Greek. So he said, let's have her. And I said yes before I even read the script. I would have gone to work with Kostas for anything, even if he tells me, take and say numbers. Say numbers, but it wasn't saying numbers, because actually I interpret a person who is alive, who's there. Danai Stratos exists. It's very rare for an actor to play somebody who's still alive, if it's a real person. Usually they're already dead. So they cannot, as much as you have to treat it with respect, always, even if that person was an assassin. As an actor, I have to treat with respect that human being, to understand. But when they're alive and they're there in front of you, it was extremely interesting for Christos and for me to have to play that, because you have a responsibility. You do have a responsibility that goes beyond even, the story that you're telling, which is, you have to treat it with care. You cannot be, So it was very interesting for me to have Danai and to meet her, even if it was a very small role, but for me it was so interesting to be there, to work with them and to meet Danai and Yannis, and also to understand better, because even as a half Greek as I am, a lot of things were totally, I don't think anybody really understood enough, and to be able to be on the set, I learned a lot. Voila. Thanks.
Thank you.
You said that this movie is about what happened 4 years ago in Europe and in Greece, but let me play devil's advocate role here and ask you that in the movie there's only Yannis Varoufakis' version of the facts. So why we can't trust that his version of the facts is the whole truth about what happened there?
No, we can trust like him. I know there's a lot of negative things written and said about Varoufakis around the world. But the thing who interests me very much about him, when after a referendum, everybody said, oh yes, we follow the Europeans. Even for people who have said the contrary, Varoufakis did no, I don't go. I let the government, I go my way. And I was surprised. And I tried to see him, because I already was working on the possibility to make a movie about that. And I saw him, and he explained me why he did that. And he also did something extraordinary. He showed me part of his tapings he did during the meetings in the Eurogroup. Because what happened? Very quickly, and Varoufakis understood that everything was said in that Eurogroup, it was written down, nothing. It was just saying, and then people used to go out and say different things. So I heard what he said. I saw all these some of these pictures, quite all of them. And I saw how the way things he was proposing in the Eurogroup were presented outside completely differently. That was very interesting. And then he told me he was writing a book about. So I said I would like to read the book, and then eventually see if we can make a movie with that. And he sent me chapter after chapter And I was working on the script. I said, there is a story. And when I finished, I said, give me the rights. And you give me all the freedom to do what I think, and don't interfere. And he did so. And he never interfered on the script. Of course, he read the script. He told me, this is not, okay, this is not. But I was able to keep what I would like to keep. And also because I have the possibility to check a lot of things during that time. So Varoufakis is someone who's now, as a person, is what he is, but as a writer, he's a very good writer. He has perfect English and very good English. He is a good professor of economic affairs. He knows very well the economy. If you are interested by the economy, you should read 2 of his books, a part of the last one, the one with whom I made the movie. And I think he was a very Bolivian person. Even if he's not a saint, he's not a hero, because I don't like the heroes. I think our society doesn't have need for heroes, need for persons who know what they do, and also for people who resist. Varoufakis is someone who resists. For that, I admire him.
And can I add something?
You can.
Thank you.
As the director, you can.
We might as well also keep in mind that there is no such thing as an absolute truth. We are saying this story from Varoufakis' view, accompanied with Costa's view on the subject. It's easy for me to say that nobody ever has gone out and to disclaim what he claims. I mean about Varoufakis. He speaks about some things, and nobody ever has done anything like what's the name? I'm not finding the word. To discredit him.
Yes, of course. The book
They keep discrediting him like as a person. They keep trying to assassinate his character, like he's done this and he's like that, and he's a narcissist, he's arrogant, he may as well be all these things, but that doesn't mean that what he says isn't true. And nobody has come up with facts saying, no, this is not true, this is not how things got down, I know the truth. We all have different views on reality, we all have different views on this glass here. I'm not saying that what I'm saying about this glass is the only truth. It's my view. And Costa's view and Yannis' view has a right to be said. And I don't think anybody here claims that that holds
the absolute truth.
Yeah. Might as well. There is another book in Greece about the events of that period from the opposite side. Might as well do that. Why don't you do that also?
Probably. No, just one word. Christos said something interesting. I forget to tell you that after reading the book and deciding to make the movie, I went around to see how many people, being concerned about the book, say that is not truth. If there are trials, nothing. In Germany, in Europe, nobody, nothing. That was a proof for me also, because the truth was there. And for the other hand, I saw a newspaper, a British newspaper, who the critics of the book generally were very good. The Observer considers that each one, he did a huge publication about 100 most important books since quite ever about politics. And he's among them with a good position. So all these things were very, very important to me to verify the truthfulness of this book and what I was doing in the movie. And I have to check every moment and everything.
Tenemos tiempo.
Okay, we've got time for one more question.
You left Greece when you were young, you were 22 years old, and you started making movies in France. You talked about all political and social issues from all around the world. So how did it feel after all these years to talk about a Greek story and this particular story that has such an impact on Greek society?
I feel You know, I left, I say all the time, I left Greece, I escaped Greece, because that period was after the Civil War. For my generation, there was no future, nothing. The only possibility to go to do something is to go outside. As today, something 500,000 young people left with diplomas and situations, left Greece because there was no job for them. I went to France, and France accepted me like one country must accept her sons. And I was able in France to work, to have a job, to have a family, to do everything I was dreaming to do. So every time it was Greece, in certain way, I didn't know I was Greek. I was French citizen, and they accepted me. And a day happened something with the colonels, the Greek colonels. And from one night to another, when I read the book, I saw what they were doing in Greece. I felt Greek. I said, this is impossible. What happens that? I have to do something, and I did see. And then the situation has been different. It was peaceful in Greece. And then the last thing was this crisis. And then at the same time, I felt once more that it was unbearable. I should do something. And as I told you before, I tried to find this possibility to do that movie. I did that movie for that reason, because somehow the Greek is inside of me always. So everything, this country has something very negative as this one. I feel obliged to do something.
He feels Greek when there is a problem. When everything is okay, he's French.
De acuerdo, lo vamos a...
Okay, well, let's leave it here. A big round of applause. Thank you very much to the cast of the film and to the director.